Erneut schaut die Welt gespannt auf die erwartete Eskalation im Nahen Osten. Nach dem israelischen Mordanschlag auf den Hamas-Chef Ismail Haniyeh, vergangenes Wochenende, wird nun ein massiver Gegenschlag des Iran erwartet. Israel hat verlautbart, dass es notfalls einen Präventivschlag durchführen würde, um den iranischen Angriff zu verhindern. In der Nacht von Montag auf Dienstag wurden laut Medienberichten die US-Basis Al-Asad im Westen des Irak von Raketen getroffen. Dabei sollen zahlreiche US-Soldaten verwundet worden sein. War das der befürchtete iranische Gegenschlag? Warum die Al-Asad-Basis? Wie stark ist die militärische und geopolitische Wirkung dieses Angriffes? Und man muss fragen, war es das oder kommt noch mehr aus dem Iran?
First of all, I don't believe that the Al-Asad air base had anything to do with Iran. It had instead to do with militias, pro-Iranian Iraqi militias. The United States, at the same time that Israel was assassinating Hamas leaders in Tehran and Hezbollah leaders in Beirut, the United States used drones operating out of the Al-Asad base to assassinate Iraqi militia leaders and personnel that were assisting the militia. So this is retaliation for an American strike on Iraqi soil using American military assets deployed from the Al-Asad base. It has nothing to do whatsoever with the what's going on between Iran and Israel. So it's two totally separate incidents. Sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees when looking at the level of violence taking place throughout the Middle East. But there are cause and effect relationships, and the United States continues to operate military resources, including armed drones, out of the Al-Asad base, and they use these drones to attack Iraqi nationals, militias operating on Iraqi soil in a manner inconsistent with the American commitments to Iraq, disrespectful of Iraqi sovereignty, and as such, people shouldn't be surprised when these militias retaliate.
Der Iran hatte explizit damit gedroht, israelische und US-Ziele ins Visier nehmen zu wollen. Sowohl die USA als auch Israel haben sich darauf vorbereitet, getroffen zu werden. Ist Washington nun nach dem Angriff auf die Al-Assad-Basis selbst unter Zugzwang? Liegt die Initiative nun auf US-Seite, um selbst zurückzuschlagen? Laut Medienberichten werden gerade Tausende von US-Soldaten in die Region verlagert. Welches Interesse hat die beiden Regierungen an der Eskalation im Nahen Osten? Auch hinsichtlich eines gewünschten Wahlsieges von Vizepräsidentin Kamala Harris im November.
I don't think the United States is preparing to attack Iran at all. In fact, the United States has sent the exact opposite message to Israel, indicating that while it is prepared to help defend Israel against any potential Iranian response to, again, we need to understand the Israeli attack on Iran, that the United States will not participate in any offensive operations against Iran. The United States knows what the consequences will be. We speak of the Al-Asad air base being struck recently by pro-Iraqi or pro-Iranian Iraqi militias. Iran struck the Al-Asad air base back in early 2020 following the assassination by the Trump administration of Qasem Soleimani. They struck it with over 10 ballistic missiles, precision guided, which hit every target they were aiming at. And Iran sent a signal to the United States that if the United States continued to operate against Iran, kill Iranian leaders, that Iran would be fully capable of destroying the totality of America's military infrastructure in the Middle East. And there's nothing the United States could do to prevent this. The United States understands that correlation of forces and the potential consequences accrued with Iran's military capacity continues to exist to this date. The United States will not engage in offensive military operations against Iran, especially when Iran's actions were precipitated by irresponsible Israeli actions, which the United States most likely cautioned Israel against undertaking because they recognize it being a destabilizing maneuver. The United States politically aligned with Israel, and therefore Politically, the United States must come to the defense of Israel, but the United States will not participate in any offensive operations against Iran.
Lass uns über die iranischen Verteidigungsfähigkeiten sprechen. Glaubt man den Berichten, wurde Hamas-Chef Haniyeh in der iranischen Hauptstadt Teheran von einer Kurzstreckenrakete mit einem Gewicht von 7 Kilogramm getroffen. Iran beschuldigt Israel und die USA, diese Rakete abgeschossen zu haben. Wir wollen deine Meinung dazu wissen. Von wo wurde die Rakete gestartet? Warum konnte die iranische Luftverteidigung sie nicht abfangen? Immerhin wurde Teheran selbst getroffen. Ist Iran überhaupt fähig, einen großen militärischen Angriff abzufangen?
Well, first of all, we have to understand when we say short-range missile, that means short range, not long range. It implies that whatever assets were used to strike the Hamas leader were already existing inside Iran, that Israel has capabilities already deployed inside Iran. And this is true whether or not you accept the short-range missile narrative or another narrative, which is that Israel pre-positioned explosives in the guest house. Either way, it shows that Israel has capacities that are already deployed inside Iran that are capable of carrying out very precise strikes against very highly protected targets. And this is problematic for Iran because the implication, therefore, is that Israel could take out the Iranian president or the supreme leader or any one of Iran's top leadership at any time. This has nothing to do with Israel's long-range strike capabilities. Iran has robust defenses, but I believe Israel has been preparing for some time to deal with these defenses. This is why I think you're seeing Iran pause before carrying out any retaliation. They appear to be receiving defense upgrades from Russia, including electronic warfare capabilities, radar, perhaps surface-to-air missile interception capabilities, so that Iran can protect strategically important installations such as its nuclear enrichment infrastructure and major command and control facilities. War is war. Iran will launch an attack that is designed to penetrate Israeli air defenses and bring damage and harm to Israeli infrastructure, and Israel is expected to retaliate using its capabilities to penetrate Iranian air defenses and bring destruction to Iranian targets. This is war. There's no such thing as the perfect defense. Both sides will suffer tremendous losses if there is a general conflict.
Direkt nach dem Mordanschlag auf Hamas-Chef Haniyeh hat Iran seine internationalen Partner kontaktiert und anscheinend um Beistand gebeten. Insbesondere Russland hat zügig reagiert. Der Sekretär des russischen Sicherheitsrates und ehemalige Verteidigungsminister Sergei Shoigu reiste nach Teheran, um sich mit dem neu gewählten iranischen Präsidenten Masoud Pezeshkian zu beraten. Laut Berichten sollen außerdem zahlreiche russische Militärflugzeuge seit dem vergangenen Wochenende im Iran gelandet sein. Erleben wir gerade die Formation einer russisch-iranischen Militärallianz? Was ist Russlands Interesse im Nahen Osten und was liefert das russische Militär an den Iran?
I don't know if we can use the term alliance, at least in the Western sense, because that seems to be treaty-based. Russia and Iran have signed a strategic, framework agreement, the details of which have not been made public. I think what we're seeing is implementation of aspects of this agreement where Iran has requested military support and Russia is providing it. It's interesting because some of this equipment that's being provided by Russia is extremely high tech. And unless Iran has been preparing technicians to operate this equipment will have to be operated by Russian technicians, Russian soldiers, which means now Russia has military capabilities deployed onto Iranian soil, and they could potentially take casualties. Will Russia also deploy its own air force to provide air cover over these facilities? We're looking at a potential escalation. that could involve not just Israel and Iran, but Israel and Russia, and therefore maybe bring the United States into the equation. Russia has a strategic relationship with Iran. It's economic, it's geopolitical, it's military. It's part of Russia's pivot away from the West and towards Eurasia. Part of what Russia's been doing with China in terms of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, in terms of BRICS. Iran is an important component of both of these. So Russia is not going to turn its back on Iran. I think we're seeing that play out.
Welchen politischen Kurs verfolgt die israelische Regierung von Premierminister Benjamin Netanjahu gerade? Offenbar sucht sie nicht nur einen militärischen Konflikt mit Iran, sondern gleichzeitig auch mit der Hisbollah im Libanon und den Houthi in Jemen, während sie selbst noch im Krieg mit der Hamas im Gazastreifen beschäftigt ist. Will Netanjahu die totale Eskalation im Nahen Osten? Hat Israel die Stärke, es mit Iran, der Hisbollah, den Houthi und der Hamas aufzunehmen? Und wohin würde das den Nahen Osten führen?
Netanyahu is in a very difficult situation where the Israeli military is exhausted, lacks the capacity to do to achieve the strategic objectives that Netanyahu has set forth to defeat Hamas, defeat Hezbollah, defeat the Houthi, defeat Iran. But Netanyahu can only stay in power if Israel continues to be in a continuous state of conflict. He is a wartime leader with a wartime government. The moment Israel accepts a ceasefire in Hamas, a conflict termination in the north against Lebanon, and stability with Iran, Netanyahu loses any reason to exist as a leader. He's a highly unpopular leader. He's a man who's been accused of corruption. If he steps down as prime minister, he will most likely be brought to trial on charges of corruption. Some people believe that the evidence of his guilt is overwhelming and that he would be found guilty and spend the rest of his life in jail. So what Netanyahu is doing right now is not about the state of Israel. It's about the preservation of Netanyahu. And so he's willing to literally put the security and the future existence of Israel on the line to preserve his political legacy.
Auf den Punkt gefragt. Wo wird der iranische Gegenangriff deiner Meinung nach stattfinden? Wird der Iran tatsächlich US-amerikanische oder israelische Ziele in dem Gebiet angreifen?
Iran will strike Israel. That's what I believe. I believe Iran will strike Israel decisively. The attack will be focused on economic targets, political targets. Remember, Israel carried out a political assassination, killing a very senior leader. I think that Iran will seek to make Israel pay a similar price, and military targets. Iran will attack Israel in a way that seeks to do damage to Israel's missile defense shield and perhaps Israel's offensive strike capability by hitting airfields. I think we can expect the attack to be massive and with overwhelming force, and it will be designed to penetrate the Israeli defenses and bring death and destruction on Israel. Yeah. And then Iran will sit back and see what Israel does. And if Israel retaliates and what kind of, escalation goes on from there. But I think we're looking at the potential for general war between Iran and Israel, a war of an existential nature, meaning that this isn't just going to be an exchange of blows. We're talking about a war that's designed to bring about the end of regimes, to bring about the end of the Netanyahu regime, or to bring about the end of the Islamic Republic. I think this is going to be a very decisive military exchange.
Wie wird Israel auf den zu erwartenden iranischen Angriff reagieren? Wie werden die USA reagieren? Wird dies die Einleitung zu einem großen Krieg sein und vielleicht sogar Russland und die USA involvieren?
Again, Iran's response, I believe, will be overwhelming. It has no choice to be overwhelming. It'll be designed to strike Israeli targets. The United States will be involved in defending. There's the potential that America will suffer losses as well. Israel will retaliate. It has no choice but to retaliate. The retaliation will be massive, designed to intimidate Iran from carrying out similar strikes. Iran will not back down. Iran will respond, and this will lead to a general exchange. Israel will probably end up striking targets in Iran that have Russian military personnel stationed there, killing or wounding Russians, which will cause Russia to get involved. And this has the potential of bringing the United States, and we could be very well looking at World War III breaking out in the Middle East in the near future.